All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Sterling Heights City Council to order. If you would, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please bless our elected officials. Grant them courage and wisdom to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Ms. May. Can we please have the roll call?
Mayor Taylor?
Here.
Mrs. Sarowski? Mr. Myjack?
Here.
Mr. Radke?
Present.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Present.
Mr. Yanis?
Here.
Mrs. Zarko?
Present.
Thank you. Just real briefly, Ms. Sarowski is not here tonight. Her mother-in-law recently passed away, so want to give condolences to the Sarowski family, to Judge Steve Sarowski from our district court on the loss of his mother, and wish our best to the Sarowski family. And she's away with family tonight, attending the funeral. So we will see her back in 2 weeks, of course. All right, council, we need approval of tonight's agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as presented. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Yanis.
I'd like to move consent agenda item D to consideration item 9B.
Okay, so 8D will become 9B. Is there any other discussion, council? No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First item on our agenda tonight is a report from our city manager, Mark Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to begin by reminding everyone it's that time of the year again. And this coming Saturday, December 6th, from 5:30 p.m. until 8:30, right across the street, including the Upton House, we will celebrate Sterling Christmas. It's one of our most popular events, second only to Sterling Fest throughout the year. We get thousands of people that come. Saturday night might be a little cold, but it's perfect for the event. It should be clear. So we look forward to seeing everyone there. And we also wanted to, in addition to all the festivities that are commonplace at Sterling Christmas, like caroling and, of course, lighting of the tree and the horse-drawn wagon rides and ice skating and trackless train and so many more. In addition, we do ask that individuals bring donations of non-perishable food in honor of our DPW Ken Stempowski Memorial Food Drive to benefit community food banks in Macomb County. So if you're able to, please bring what you can. But we look forward to seeing you all there, all 5,000 or 6,000 of you. It's a great event, a great turnout, and the ice rink will be jam-packed for sure. So again, that is this Saturday starting at 5:30 p.m. And Mayor, you and council surely know that we are now entering our third year of the Look No Further campaign. We started this effort as part of our Visioning 2040 plan and our 2030 plans. And it's an effort to celebrate all that's going on in Sterling Heights, to tell the Sterling Heights story, the success story, outside of Sterling Heights. We all know about it in Sterling Heights. Our residents know about it. Our businesses know about it. We see all the good things going on in the city. But as part of our prosperity agenda, if you will, we want to make sure that the entire region is aware of all that's going on in Sterling Heights. And you may ask, why is that important? It's important for a number of reasons. First, Sterling Heights continues to be one of the few communities in the state, large communities, that continues to grow in population. Cities that grow are cities that thrive. Cities that are stagnant in population or declining, goes without saying, are typically not prospering. So for Sterling Heights, to achieve the vision we've set forth for 2030 and 2040, our population needs to continue to grow. And so the Look No Further campaign is an effort to make sure that the entire region, the entire state knows about what's going on in Sterling Heights. We want to make sure that those who are considering to move in the next few years, especially families, know about all that's here in Sterling Heights. Not only our great school systems, but our great quality of life amenities as well, and our great city services and our affordability, and the list goes on and on. So with us this evening is Brandon Chestnut with a partner with Identity PR, who's going to talk about where we're at in this campaign. What's the next phase of the campaign, and what are some of the metrics that we're seeing coming out of the campaign so far? So I'd like to call on Mr. Chestnut to handle this part of the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderpool, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Mr. Krzyzewski. Very excited to be back in front of you this evening to provide a brief update on our Look No Further campaign as we continue our mission to communicate why the city of Sterling Heights is a great place to find a home, raise a family, build and scale a business, and beyond. We have been very busy with phase two, and you may have seen some of our important storytelling, media, and continued advertising milestones over the past several weeks and months, including on-site, all-day coverage from Sterling Fest involving WDIV Local 4, continued promotion of our great economic development programs like Arsenal Alliance, which was featured in Crane's Detroit Business and all over WDIV, the amplification of the amazing programs that we continue to roll out to make the city safe and welcoming, and then our always-on, always in the background advertising that's surgically targeting residents, business owners, different communities throughout the state, and showing them our people, the people of these communities, the people who work here, live here, and why they love this community so much. Before we look to phase two, which is what I want to spend a few brief moments talking about, I thought it'd be important to provide a quick refresh on where we're at today and what we were looking to accomplish heading into this next moment within the campaign. First, let me go here. I thought it was important to highlight, what did we learn in that first year? And what were the headlines that came out of it? First, we were looking for ways to generate the biggest headlines possible and have the best stories. If you remember, when we sat at the community center and rolled out the campaign of who we had involved for that first video, we wanted more voices, more partners, more individuals that we could bring into this effort to help communicate, again, who we are and what we stand for. And if we also recall from one of our last presentations, the involvement of SHAP and the Chaldean Community Foundation, these are organizations, people, residents, volunteering their time to help us communicate our important key messages and relay that out to the community. We're also looking for the most creative, efficient, and cost-saving ways to deploy our dedicated advertising dollars, and we're deploying a wide variety of campaigns across social media, digital advertising, out-of-home targeting, as well as billboards and beyond. I have a few metrics I'll show in a moment. We also are looking for ways to bring this out from just the keyboard. We want people to be activated around this effort, want them to see it in the community, and everything from Sterling Fest to Jimmy John's Field to including Live in the D, people have felt and seen this campaign. It's not just what they click and what they see, it's what they feel and what they experience in real life. We've built a media machine. And if you think about the day-to-day communications that are happening on behalf of the city communications and marketing team, they're talking to the people every day who basically asked or have opted in to receive communications about the city. Our campaign's talking to people who haven't necessarily opted in. They don't know necessarily, as Mr. Vanderpool mentioned, what our story's all about. And we're targeting them day in and day out. We've been able to reach millions of Michiganders in very specific communities surrounding Sterling Heights and throughout the state to highlight some of these great stories. Additionally, we've been able to be very creative and really stretch our dollar, going so far as to see a high percentage of our advertising actually appear in the living rooms on large screen format TVs using things like YouTube TV and other targeting tools. Traditional advertising that used to cost significant budgets, we've been able to scale up for very low cost, and we continue to do that. So we're reaching into the rooms of people, and they're seeing our large format storytelling. And I can also tell you that the city sees thousands of comments on these stories, people reflecting positively or offering their opinion, as they always do, on what it is that they're seeing or hearing day in and day out. Now, I'm excited, as we talk about phase two, to talk a bit about what is our next effort. What is our next campaign, especially as we talk about resident attraction, an idea that actually was born out of our discussions with City Council. How do we look for ways to talk about bringing in the right message and amplifying that out to those who are looking for maybe the next place to live or the next place to move? We have 4 residents and 4 stories that are part of this next effort that'll be rolling out in the next few weeks, including a well-known local realtor who's built his business and put his kids through the community school system. We have a family that has expressed nothing but glowing remarks about our recreational program, so much so as they've written traditional notes to the city to talk about how much they appreciate them, and you'll find them in local Facebook groups communicating day in and day out for the love of what we offer. We have an empty nester who was looking originally for the city for affordability, but now has become actively involved in our community engagement efforts. And some high school sweethearts that met in Sterling Heights, moved away, got their degree, moved back, and talk about what it means to actually put their roots here and start a family and talk about the next phase of their life. Now, there's a reason we focus on this. Not only was it a great idea from council in some of our conversations, but we've done our research and we've identified that there's 800,000 people in Metro Detroit, based on data from Google and other tools, that are actively looking for information related to mortgages or moving. How do we become a top consideration for those people? I think that's important. They're out there, the data proves it, the numbers are there, and part of this next effort is to run specifically to those groups. If you're interested, if you're looking for that information, the city's gonna be on your radar. We also have some very important objectives as part of this phase 2 that we want to accomplish that I just wanted to highlight. First is continuing to capture and elevate these great stories. In addition to the resident attraction campaign we're gonna highlight, we have 3 additional campaigns we'll be rolling out this year. And to say that people have come knocking on our door asking for visibility, everything from our accelerator programs and the multi-generational businesses here to a number of people just raised their hand and said, I want to be involved, has been exciting. It's tough to filter them out. So we have 3 other ones that we're really focused on. We're also critically and laser focused on surveying and measuring the effectiveness of this. Now, if you think about our surveys out to our community members about the effectiveness of city services, what if we could ask them what they feel about our brand as a city, which is a big question. What do they think about? How do they think about this campaign? What is their reaction to things? We've identified 2 strategic partners that specialize in this particular effort. They're going to help us actually measure the effectiveness of the campaign and get some real insights that we can continue to measure throughout our 2030 visioning strategy on what people feel, what they see, what might be real, what might be perception as part of this effort. And we're going to continue to maximize our messaging and our rollout of these particular stories over a wide variety of channels, including everything from our city magazine to in-market billboards and beyond. So you'll see many of those over the next few months, and we'll be continuing to update the group on where we stand. But as I wrap our update, I did want to provide a sneak preview that no one has seen yet, except for a few of us, on what this next campaign looks like. So we did a specific cut for council to view this, if we want to queue up the video. You actually see a bit of the messaging and storytelling that we'll be marketing, and you'll see rolling out over the next few weeks. Go ahead and roll the video.
Sterling Heights is a melting pot. You can find every race, every language. Everybody's here. We're all one. And when we come together, whether it's Juneteenth, whether it's Sterling Fest, a little bit of everybody.
I just love our parks and recreation. I love everything, our services, just the feel you get when you come anywhere that's city property. It's warm, it's inviting. When I walk into the community center, I feel happy.
So I chose to build my business in Sterling Heights because Sterling Heights is a large, viable city. And the main reason, though, is that there's a lot of housing in Sterling Heights. So a lot of customers, a lot of business to be had.
Sterling Heights is a great place to choose to start your life and start your family.
We have kids playing up and down our street from the day it turns warm to the day it turns cold, so it just feels very homey and warm on our street for sure.
There's a sense of welcoming, a sense of belonging. There's a sense of community because we all come together.
Look no further.
Look no further.
Look no further.
Look no further than Sterling Heights.
If I could just bookend by saying those neighborhood shots look fantastic. So there'll be more of those you'll see in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Mayor, you can see there's so much more than just trying to attract families and other individuals from other areas. It's all about economic development as well. So this campaign has proven to be very successful. We look forward to the next phase. And thank you to Mr. Chestnut, and also our Community Relations Director, Melanie Davis, and her team for helping to coordinate the campaign. And there's a lot of hard work that goes into an effort like this, and they've done a great job. And Mayor, I'm really pleased to talk about the next item, and that is highlighting a very special program in our library. And with us this evening are librarians Lindsay Block and Jessica DeGreek, who would like to handle the presentation.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. For those of you we haven't met yet, my name is Jessica. This is Lindsay. We are both full-time librarians at the Sterling Heights Library, and we're very excited to have been given the opportunity to discuss a very important and rewarding aspect of our job, which is outreach. Outreach is an aspect of librarianship that is designed to make the library and its resources more accessible to everyone in our community.
So there are two sides to outreach. The first focuses on our efforts to bring the library and its resources directly to our patrons, especially those who, for whatever reason, may not have been able to visit us in person before. This can involve attending events like Dodge Park Thursdays or the Cultural Exchange to provide library information to attendees. It can involve driving through the city in our new mobile library to provide programming information and pass out free books. It can also involve visiting classrooms to introduce kids to the library for the first time, and visiting assisted living facilities to remind folks of how the library can serve them from afar. Most frequently, though, it means delivering library materials right into the hands of Sterling Heights residents. So our weekly home delivery service allows patrons with a Sterling Heights library card to call the library and request material pickups and drop-offs straight to their door. We have the capacity to do up to 12 deliveries each week, with demand spiking, of course, in the colder months. And we also offer homebound services. This is a once-a-month, regularly scheduled delivery for patrons who are completely homebound and cannot come to the library to get a card. Patrons using the service do not have to schedule deliveries or even choose what they'd like to receive. They simply tell us their favorite authors and genres, and our dedicated outreach librarian will pull books to suit them. Our deposit collections work similarly. We partner with assisted living facilities in the city to leave a selection of materials with them for 6 months at a time, giving the residents access to a variety of books beyond what the facility could provide on their own.
The second side of outreach involves creating partnerships with local organizations designed to help us further our mission of encouraging innovative living through literacy, discovery, and community. So these partnerships can come in many shapes and sizes. For example, we've partnered with organizations like Vibe Credit Union, Huron-Clinton Metro Parks, and Uniquely You to sponsor and create various programs. Certain city departments like the fire department, police department, nature center, and hopefully soon even maybe the city clerk's office have volunteered to either host or collaborate in programming efforts with us. And then we have even more community partners who have assisted us by donating their time or money to help our programs thrive. We've been working very diligently over the past several years to expand our outreach efforts, and 2025 has seen many long-term goals really start to take shape as we have expanded our presence into the community. So outreach visits increased by just over 95% in 2025, and the results can be seen both in the positive feedback we've gotten from people participating in these programs, as well as increased program attendance and the increased usage of our library resources. And then we just want to point out, on our slide, we've included some of our most frequent community partners, those we work with the most, but we do want to be clear that this is only a fraction of the organizations that have helped us throughout the years. And we can't express enough how much we appreciate the support of everyone in our community that has been willing to work with us to bring free programming and free resources to everyone in our community. And then we'd also like to give a very special thank you to our friends of the library group who provide 100% of our programming budget, as well as free books and other materials that we get to pass out when we do these outreach events. And we're just very appreciative of their support. We could not do it without them.
So thank you, Mayor Taylor. Thank you, Mr. Vanderpool, and the council for giving us the opportunity to be here tonight. As you can tell, we're incredibly proud to offer these services to this community. We love getting to talk about how what we do goes far beyond the books on our shelves. And as a side note, just anyone who wants to come into the library and see what we do in person, we would love to take you around. We're always happy to show what we do. So thank you again.
Mayor, I just wanted to close by saying the library is part of our success story, and it is a big part of our quality of life. And we're super excited to look at the expansion of the library with the new library satellite at Red Run Park that will be under construction next year. So that's going to be a focal point of that park. So I want to thank all the employees. It's our happy place. When you go to the library, you can't help but be happy. It's so uplifting. The employees are amazing. They're so helpful. The customer service is off the charts. And at the same time, there's so many learning opportunities for individuals of all ages. And Mayor, that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Vanderpool. We have 3 presentations tonight, 2 presentations of the Nice Neighbor Award, and for that, I will call up our Community Relations Director, Melanie Davis. Ms. Davis.
Thank you, Mayor, Mr. Vanderpool, Mr. Kajewski, members of council. Thank you for the opportunity. I know that everybody's aware that we have had a Nice Neighbor program for quite some time, but our Community Alliance recently met, the Community Alliance Commission, and they had wanted to go out and get additional nominations for the Nice Neighbor because there are several years of the, or days of the year and months of the year where we talk about doing nice things for your neighbor. And they kind of wanted to leverage that and showcase all the great nice neighbors that we have in Sterling Heights. And so what they're going to do is they're going to put out an appeal on a quarterly basis with the goal of trying to get at least one nice neighbor presentation at most city council meetings. So that's the goal. But tonight I have the pleasure of introducing 2 of them. The first award in the Nice Neighbor Award honors homeowners and residents who basically improve their neighbor's quality of life. And so tonight's first award is going to Helga Babich. Helga noticed that her widowed neighbor had newspapers in his driveway and a package on his porch a couple months ago that was unusual for him. And instead of just ignoring that, she trusted her instincts and contacted another neighbor, Manny Gonzalez, and asked him to check in. They were then able to call the police for a welfare check and also contacted another neighbor who had been given a house key previously and used it to get the rest of the way into the house. They called out and they heard a reply and entered the home just to discover that the homeowner had been stuck in bed for 2 days due to a medical emergency. So Helga and Manny were able to call emergency services again, make sure that an ambulance was sent, and our first responders arrived and the case was handed over to them so that that homeowner could receive the medical attention that he needed. So Manny has nominated Helga for her efforts to stay aware of the small things and for taking action so that they could help their neighbor. Many people from multiple homes coming together and looking out for one another and keeping each other safe is really truly the ideal image of community. And what Helga did, and Manny and the other neighbors, is a shining example of how powerful we are when we come together and how our residents are truly a critical component of keeping Sterling Heights the safest big city in Michigan. And you will hear that time and again from our police and fire department, who will say, yes, our first responders are unparalleled in the service they provide, but it really is a partnership between them and the residents that live here and helping keep all of our residents safe. So at this time, I would like to bring up Helga and Manny for nominating her and present Helga with the Nice Neighbor Award.
She deserves all the credit.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Okay, another round of applause. And the second nice neighbor we have for tonight is presented to Megan Turner of Old House Restaurant. We'd like to give her the Nice Neighbor Award tonight. She was previously a waitress at the Old House Family Restaurant, but then took ownership of the establishment in 2021 and maintains Old House's family feeling, where they prioritize connection and flavor over flashy signage. She was nominated by Al Andriucci, I hope I pronounced that name correctly, and he nominated Megan for the first name basis level of care she and her staff bring to the restaurant, as well as their charitable efforts for collecting coats each winter. Al says he visits the Old House weekly to do his part in supporting them, and he is very grateful that their restaurant made it through COVID, which, as you all know, was a trying time for a lot of our local restaurants. The restaurant's cheeky slogan, which I absolutely love, it's good food, bad attitude, but Megan says, you know, that's really just a humorous tagline, and that they truly do have the best attitudes. She says that the playful banter creates a really close family-like bond, and she wants everyone to be comfortable enough to come in there and feel like they're at home when they come to Old Family House Restaurant, or Old House Family Restaurant. She and the staff at Old House Family Restaurant are an example of respecting the past while also embracing the future, and really truly building bonds that fortify our city and bring people together, because truly we know that belonging is the secret sauce that makes communities strong, resilient, and united. So I'd like to bring up Megan and Al and present Megan another Nice Neighbor Award.
Look at you. Aren't you proud of yourselves? What a good job you did. If you think I was being rude to them, go to the restaurant. Enjoy it. It's fun.
Is that bad attitude?
It's that bad attitude. The sass. Yeah.
That's perfect.
Well, thanks for doing what you do every day.
you.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All set? All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Davis. 2 Nice Neighbor Awards today. A great restaurant, too. If you haven't been, go check it out. And always appreciative of the great work that our regular residents and business owners and staff members here at City Hall, everybody puts in the effort to make this a great community and improve quality of life. So we're very appreciative for that. All right, moving on, we have one more presentation tonight, and this is to receive the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025. We have a presentation from Nick Mackey, our Assistant Finance and Budget Director, and Daniel Merritt, a partner at Riemann Robson LLC, starting, of course, with Mr. Mackey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Mr. Vanderpool, and Mr. Koszewski. I am very happy to be here tonight to present the results of the 2025 financial audit. Each year, independent auditors review our financial statements and our accounting procedures. The audit's a very time-consuming and detailed process and involves the cooperation of many employees throughout the organization. And I'd like to thank everyone that was involved, especially our entire finance team, who have once again done an excellent job. We prepared a short presentation to review the audit results. The full 200-page report has been supplied to City Council. It's also available on the city's website. To summarize the financial results, net position of the city, which represents total assets minus total liabilities, has increased by $42.7 million from the prior year. Most of this increase is in governmental activities and is due to the large investment the city has been making into infrastructure, including roads and facilities. General fund revenues totaled $136.8 million. General fund expenditures were $134.7 million. This means we were able to add $2.1 million to general fund reserves. It's important to note that this increase in general fund reserves includes carry forward funding for projects not yet completed by year end and about $900,000 in unspendable temporary investment gains. This brings our total general fund balance to $43 million, or 31.9% of annual general fund expenditures. In 2026, we're projected to have a use of fund balance of $1.3 million, bringing our total reserves to 41.7, which is about 31.3% of expenditures. In total, general fund revenues were 0.8% above budgeted targets and were $6.8 million more than prior year revenues. This is an increase of 5.3% compared to last year, and this increase was related to several items. First, because of the increase in property values citywide, an additional $4.3 million in tax revenue was generated. A new accounting pronouncement was implemented in the current fiscal year that required us to record long-term liabilities for subscription-based IT agreements. And because of the accounting required entries, this resulted in an extra $1.5 million of revenue and an offsetting $1.5 million in expense being recorded in the general fund. While this is neutral to fund balance, it does make our comparables and our budget to actuals look a little misleading. $500,000 increase in Tier 3 property tax reimbursement was received this year, $350,000 increase year over year in revenue sharing, and an increase in interest revenue of $250,000 was also noted. Total expenditures in the general fund were in line with budgeted amounts, and the small overage is directly related to the previously mentioned adoption of a new accounting standard. If you remove the impact of the new accounting standard, general fund expenditures were 99.5% of budget for the current fiscal year. Expenditures increased by a net amount of $10 million, or 8% from the previous year. This increase included a $5.9 million increase in personnel costs due to contractual wage adjustments, step increases, and added positions. $1.5 million related to the previously mentioned accounting pronouncement. $1 million related to a grant-funded Lakeside Mall redevelopment expenditure, and $450,000 increased in contractual services. Now let's look at some of our other funds. First, the major and local roads. As you can see from this chart, revenue for major and local roads totaled over $24.5 million in 2025. Revenue from the state of Michigan, known as Act 51 revenue, totaled $16.4 million. This is an increase of about $740,000 year over year. The Safe Streets millage provided $4.3 million for neighborhood road improvements. This is up about $210,000 year over year. And other sources, which includes federal grant revenue, reimbursements, and special assessments, contributed $1.2 million in the current year. This is an increase of $830,000 year over year. The general fund also provided an additional $1 million for major roads this year. Investment in major roads, including bonded funds, totaled $9.9 million in 2025. In 2026, budgeted expenditures are $22.1 million and include some carry-forward projects initially budgeted in fiscal year 2025, like Clinton River Road. Some of the current year projects include Moravian Road resurfacing, Shaner to Hayes, and the 18-mile road bridge over the Plum Brook Drain. This year's neighborhood road projects totaled $7.3 million. In 2026, we'll see another $7.2 million of investment. Expenditures in our capital projects fund totaled $8.2 million in 2025. Some of the highlights include $3.6 million in facility and land improvements, $1.1 million in drain improvements, $1.4 million in equipment, and $1.9 million in vehicles. The 2026 budget will see continued investments in equipment and facilities in the amount of $15.3 million. The American Rescue Plan Act funding continues to be spent according to our ARPA action plan. Current year expenditures of $8 million consisted of $2.2 million on the ITC corridor improvements, $4.4 million on road projects and trail enhancements, including the Nature Center Bridge and the Lakeside Island Bridge, and $1.1 million on the construction of the community garden. The balance of our ARPA funding is expected to be spent in 2026. The Water and Sewer Fund had an operational gain in the current fiscal year of $1.1 million. Fiscal year 26 is also projected to include an increase in reserves, which is important for future infrastructure improvements. And now an update on our city retirement funds. The Retiree Medical Plan, or OPEB plan, has increased its funding level 3.7% from last year to 82.8% funded. The funding level of the general employee pension system increased to 75.4% funded. And as a reminder, the retiree medical plan and the general employee pension plan are both closed to new hires. The funding level of the police and fire pension plan increased to 64.4% funded, and this is the only plan currently open to new hires. The city has continued to prioritize funding of all its retirement plans by making required contributions and maintaining appropriate actuarial assumptions for the plans. Now, a quick look at our bonded debt. The city has continued to prioritize investment in construction of public facilities. At times, these investments require the city to issue bonds to fund projects. While most of the city bonds have a dedicated funding source, such as Act 51 revenue, special assessments, or utility revenue, there are limits to the amount of general obligation debt the city can incur. You'll see from the chart on the screen that our general obligations are only at 17.9% of the legal limit for the year ended 6/30/2025, which is well within our manageable debt service limits. It's also less than the percentage in the prior year. To summarize, these slides show that the city's budgeting and long-term financial planning is on target. We're continuing to add to general fund reserves, ensuring adequate resources will be available to weather any current or future economic uncertainty. We're continuing to invest in roads and community infrastructure, and all of this is accomplished while still maintaining the lowest taxes paid per resident when compared to the 10 largest Michigan cities by population, and we continue to have one of the lowest millage rates in Macomb County. Another point of good news is that the city has once again been awarded the Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting, as well as the Distinguished Budget Award. We have now been awarded these awards for 36 and 37 years respectively, and it again shows the city's dedication to excellence in financial reporting. So that concludes my overview. Now I'd like to introduce Dan Merritt, Principal at Raymond Robson, our independent auditors. They spent the last several months reviewing our financial records and operations and have issued an unmodified opinion on the audited financial report, which is the highest rating possible.
Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you for having me this evening. As previously mentioned, my name is Dan Merritt. I'm a principal with Raymond Robson. This is our second year as the city's independent auditor. Municipalities in the state of Michigan have been required to have independent financial statement audits since Public Act 2 of 1968, and Raymond has been doing local government audits since that time. We do approximately 125 local government audits each year and dedicate about 200,000 client service hours to public sector organizations. In fact, we're also the auditor for a few of the other cities on Nick's list earlier. I'd like to point out that in front of you, you have the city's audited ACFR Annual Comprehensive Financial Statement report, which is 214 pages. So I won't attempt to go through all of it tonight, but I will point out, as Nick also mentioned in his presentation, that doing an ACFR requires additional time and effort from the finance department. The city is required to present what's called statistical information, which is 10 years of financial statement and operating indicator data, and requires the city to go back and make sure that all of this information is correct and present information on things above and beyond what's required by the state of Michigan's minimum acceptable requirements. So flip to slide 2. Tonight I'll be walking through the same agenda as we gave last year. I'll be talking about our team. We'll be talking about the required communications from us as independent auditors. I'll be giving a brief emphasis of some highlights for financial results, talking about upcoming accounting pronouncements, and then of course I'll be happy to take any questions that anyone might have. So our team is, of course, myself as the signing principal, Daniel Clark as my over-the-shoulder principal, since this is my first year as the signing principal for the audit, and Crystal Benson and Casey Hirth also provided a lot of assistance in completing the audit. I should mention at this point that any audit is a partnership between the city's finance department and our team. It takes my team approximately 300 to 500-ish hours to do a large municipality audit. I generally think that if it takes us that much time, it probably takes city finance somewhere between 2 and 3 times that many hours to prepare for the audit, answer all of our questions, provide all of the support that we need, and their process starts months before we even come out on site. So I think it's appropriate to make sure that tonight I give give the kudos and appreciation to Nick and Jason and Jennifer and their entire team on making sure that the annual audit is completed on time. I also mentioned that the audit this year was completed 2 weeks earlier than last year, which means that they did all of their same required work, put in all of that time and effort, and got it done 2 weeks earlier. A few key things that we need to communicate. First and foremost, if I say nothing else tonight, the most important thing I can tell you is that we're giving an unmodified opinion on the city's financial statements. In the audit business, we call this a clean opinion. It means we think that the financial statements can be relied upon in all material respects. Second, if an unmodified opinion is a clean opinion, an unmodified opinion with no material audit adjustments and no findings is perhaps a clean opinion or maybe an A-plus audit, right? So if you can get a clean opinion and still have findings saying that we had to make adjustments or that we identified things that needed to be corrected. So a clean opinion with no findings is perhaps a squeaky clean audit. I can't do a better job than Nick did discussing key operating indicators, but I can perhaps highlight some important ones and give a small amount of context for City Council here. First, the city saw good results in its balance sheet. Your auditor always wants you to see growth of assets and reduction in liabilities, right? You saw growth in assets primarily due to good, positive fund operating results and reduction of liabilities through regular payment of debt and increased funding status of pension and OPEB liabilities. Second, property tax revenue increased for the city as it has the last several years. If you were to look at property tax revenue for any city in Southeast Michigan, you would see it increase. Why? Not because the city is levying new taxes on constituents or residents, but because there is growth. I believe Mr. Vanderpool mentioned during his presentation that there is growth in population. If you have growth in population and growth in property values, you have growth in property tax revenue, and that's good and maintains a sustainable general fund balance. You also see good positive investment income for the fiscal year under audit. We hope that that will continue, but of course that's at the whim of the markets. The last few years have been good interest rate years and generally have been good for city investments. The general fund balance increased by $2.1 million. Nick already covered this. The best thing that I can do is give a little bit of context on what is a good fund balance coverage ratio. Generally speaking, the Government Finance Officers Association thinks you should have about 2 months of fund balance or somewhere between 10 and 15% fund balance coverage ratio. So if you are above that, then you are in a good, stable general fund position. So the city has been above that for the last number of years. I believe it was also mentioned that there have been significant investments in infrastructure made. One of the jobs of any municipality in Michigan is to invest in city buildings, parks, streets, Mound Road, renewal of assets on the water and sewer infrastructure fund. That one is perhaps particularly important. We've seen a lot of need for renewal of water and sewer infrastructure assets throughout Southeast Michigan, and it is good to see the city continuing investment in those capital assets. And finally, as Nick mentioned, all of the city's pension and OPEB defined benefit plans increased their funded status and increased their funded percentage this year. All of the city's plans would meet the state's threshold for being a funded plan. The threshold is basically 60% for a pension plan or 40% for an OPEB plan. The city continues to be above those thresholds and make all required contributions to those plans. As part of the annual audit, most cities are required to have what's called a single audit. That's a unified audit of all federal awards. The city's single audit is currently in process, as the city had about $10.5 million of federal awards during fiscal year 25. Unfortunately, independent auditors are required to do these audits under the rules issued by the Office of Management and Budget at the federal government level, and they didn't issue those rules in May, or in June, or in July, in August, or in September, and then they took a month break, and then they came back. So they just issued the rules on November 25th after I gave out this presentation, and so we will be completing the city's single audit very shortly thereafter. We are and have almost completed our audit of the two major programs selected, which are, of course, ARPA and the city's funding for CDBG. I think my last slide here is upcoming accounting pronouncements. We might also call this one more work for finance next year. Yes, there are 102 Governmental Accounting Standards Board's pronouncements in this 214-page report. As of next year, there will be 104. We work very closely with finance to make sure that all new accounting standards are appropriately adopted. There will be some changes to how the ACFR is presented next year. Again, unless you crack it and read it in great detail, it won't strike you as a significant change, especially considering the city does such a good job already providing analysis and context, and probably does almost exactly what the GFOA and the GASB would like cities to do with this new accounting pronouncement. GASB 104 will have very little impact on anyone except for my land bank clients. So with that, I think that's the end of my prepared remarks for tonight, but I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Okay. Council, any questions right now? Do think we do we have a, yeah, we do have a suggested action. Okay, so why don't we take that first, and then if we have any comments or questions, we'll ask you then, okay? So council, is there anyone who would like to make that motion?
Mayor Taylor.
Mrs. Zarko.
Resolved to receive and file the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion, Mrs. Zarko?
The only thing I would say is, thank you, Mayor Taylor, is I appreciate all the work that
You're
went.
welcome.
I know, I know.
It was hard, it was hard
Yes,
work.
it was.
You know, putting this audit
Yes.
together.
I know that
Proud of the
economics
work I
degree
did.
of yours is just, comes in handy sometimes. But no, we appreciate all the hard work that went into bringing us this report. And we appreciate all the good news that you've brought to us and all the extra work you're bringing to the finance department for next year. But no, we do appreciate it. And we sit here, twice a month, and then certainly we're available all month. But we follow this up regularly, whether it be through our budget process, whether it be through our consent agenda. So we do keep an eye on this throughout the year. And then when you come in and say, yes, we did a good job, we definitely appreciate it. So thank you, everybody in the finance department. And from, the audit firm for doing this for us. We appreciate it. Nothing further.
All right, thank you, Ms. Zarko. Council, anyone else? Mr. Yanez?
I just have to ask out of curiosity, being a layman, and a lot of these numbers just go over my head and all that. Why do the accounting standards change so often? It almost sounds like somebody's trying to keep their job.
Yes, we would also like to know, both Nick, myself, Jason, Councilman Yanis, I spend a lot of time training and teaching about new standards, so I make money off of doing this. And I would still like there to be less standards. I'd be happy to make slightly less money to not have to implement them every year.
Okay, thank you. That's all I got.
Council, anyone else? If not, I just want to thank you again for the presentation. I know your team works very hard on this, takes it very seriously. We're glad to have you, and now with your second one under the belt, we feel very comfortable with the work Raymond's doing, and thank you for it. Mr. Mackey, our financial team, you, Jennifer, everybody has just been phenomenal. There's been a long legacy of financial whizzes over in that wing of the city hall, and we're very grateful for the work you do, your professionalism. You're detail oriented, and it's giving, what this does is it gives faith to bond purchasers, investors, people who want to do business with the city of Sterling Heights, that they can rest assured that our finances are in order and that they can rely on the financial reports that we're preparing. So this goes a long way in ensuring that we're able to do all the great things that we need to do here in Sterling Heights. So again, thank you to everybody. With no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you again. We'll move on. Next item on our agenda tonight is an ordinance introduction. This is to consider the introduction of an ordinance amending Chapter 29 of the Code of Ordinances to add licensing and other operational regulations for virtual currency machines and associated devices. We have a presentation from Police Captain Colleen Hopper. Captain Hopper, there you are.
Hi.
Okay, you can, I looked up to you, Chief, and I was like, well, that's not Captain Hopper, but take it away.
Mr. Mayor, honorable council members, Mr. Vanderpool, Mr. Kazubski.
Yeah, cryptocurrency is still fairly new, as we all know, and the crypto scams are becoming more and more prevalent. Tonight's ordinance that we're proposing is another step to protect our Sterling Heights community. This ordinance, if approved, will make Sterling Heights a harder place for scammers to operate, and it'll give our officers more tools to inform, monitor, and intervene before residents become the next victims. I don't want to steal the thunder of Captain Hopper. She's done a lot of work, a lot of collaborative effort with the city attorney's office, so I will turn the presentation over to her.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mayor, City Council, Mr. Kazabowski, Mr. Vanderpool. Thank you so much for taking the time. We've talked about a lot of different numbers tonight, so now we're going to have a different kind of number. We're going to talk a little bit about cryptocurrency. The definition is a digital currency in which transactions are verified and records maintained by a decentralized system using cryptography rather than by a centralized authority. Now, if that didn't just go over your head, what the heck do they mean by that? So I have a little short video because as I kind of got into this about 6 months ago, and before we go further, I do want to thank my detective Orvello here helping me out. They is one of my fraud investigators, and they went to several classes to learn about this, and we decided we need to do something to protect our residents. So we all work together. City Attorney's Office, appreciate your efforts on this, as well as my sergeants and the chief's support. So I'm going to go ahead and play a short video kind of describing crypto and an ATM and what they do.
Coin ATMs. These things are popping up everywhere. Maybe you've seen one, spotted yourself one maybe locally. Well, these ATMs are legitimate, first thing. Easy way to buy cryptocurrency, but with convenience comes risk as well. The FBI tonight warning that scammers out there are increasingly using these machines, sometimes leading to huge losses for victims. Tonight, I-Team reporter Brian New investigating what can be done to stop that.
Walk into nearly any gas station.
Here it is right by the front door.
And you'll likely find one.
Bitcoin, Dogecoin.
5 years ago, there were roughly 1,000 Bitcoin ATMs in Texas. Today, there are more than 4,000 in the state, each providing an easy and fast way to turn cash into cryptocurrency.
Right here. It's a receipt showing us that we bought Bitcoin.
But that ease and convenience, along with a lack of government regulation, is also why they've become a favorite payment method for scammers.
These are a poor man's car collection.
80-year-old Joseph Buentello was cruising through retirement when, out of nowhere, he received a call claiming his son had been arrested.
I was scared. I hit the panic button and I let my panic take control of me, of my good judgment.
Buentello says the caller claimed he could get his son out of jail, but needed $5,000 and fast. He instructed Buentello to withdraw the money from his bank, then go to his local grocery store and find the Bitcoin ATM.
He said, do you know what a Bitcoin machine is? I said, I've heard of Bitcoins, but I've never heard of a machine.
Buentello says the caller sent him a QR account code. He told him to scan it, then insert the cash.
There's the printout that came out of the machine showing how much I put in it. They said, there's nothing we can do about it. That money's already been distributed. They said it was distributed the minute you got through putting your money in there.
And which is probably why those fraudsters wanted you to use that machine.
Yeah, exactly.
From 2020 to 2023, consumer losses in Bitcoin ATM scams skyrocketed tenfold to $114 million. And that's just what victims reported. So what can be done to reverse this trend? And who can do it?
Fraud warning. There's a scam warning.
Bitcoin ATM operators say they take extensive measures to protect users from fraud. Before any transaction, most ATMs display up to 6 screens, alerting customers to potential scams and reminding them that transactions cannot be reversed. But a former industry insider told the I-Team these warnings are not nearly enough.
Those prompts by themselves, again, they're really easy to just kind of go through and move right past.
Anthony Zervos was a fraud analyst for Digital Mint, a former Bitcoin ATM operator. To curb fraud, his company would talk on the phone to all first-time users before allowing them to make a transaction.
It was almost surreal to hear some of the stories, some of the things that customers were trying to do.
Zervo says most customers he spoke with were unknowingly scam victims. But by reaching out to them first, they were able to prevent many from losing thousands, even millions of dollars.
I'm not going to stand idly by while thousands.
Last fall, U.S. Senator Dick Durbin wrote the 10 biggest Bitcoin ATM operators asking about their scam prevention efforts. He said their responses were not reassuring.
It's time for the industry, cryptocurrency industry, to step up and to come up with a good standard to protect seniors from this kind of exploitation.
In recent years, a handful of states have passed laws regulating Bitcoin ATMs, but most of the country, including Texas, has no regulations. Senator Durbin is set to introduce new federal legislation. He wants to cap the amount one can deposit into a Bitcoin ATM and require a 72-hour hold on transactions for new users.
All right, and that video, I apologize, was out of Texas, but I did want to give you a little update. As far as Michigan, there's 648 cryptocurrency ATM machines. There's 27 in Sterling Heights alone. In 2024, the estimated loss from the feds, according to the federal government, is $9.32 billion lost in crypto scams. And the states that now have laws are California, Minnesota, Wyoming, Florida, New Hampshire, Louisiana, and Illinois. The main thing that I would like to emphasize on the video is that once that money is submitted, it is gone. So we're going to get a little bit further into that as we go through. The question is, well, why would I do this? We've just seen the scam artists and what they can do with it is people sometimes will see it as an investment, a trading opportunity, easy to store securely in a digital wallet, and then it's a decentralized wallet reveal nothing about a user's identity. So going with that, if you use your imagination, why would we want that? So the total amount of Bitcoin that can be sold is $21 million, hence that's the investment part of it, but it's so unstable right now. You know, I'm not going to get into Bitcoin and whether it's good investment or not, but just so you know that that's out there, that's why people use it. However, why you shouldn't, which is why we're here tonight. We have the typical romance scams. Seniors fall victim to this a lot because they're lonely, and these people will talk to them and convince them that they're in love and that they need to come to the country. We have the ransomware scams, which are little pop-ups on your computer. Be aware of that. The McAfee scam comes through. I've had it come up to my computer at home. Giveaway scams, Tesla. I just spoke to a resident and her son November. In regards to that, she's convinced Elon Musk is texting her and that she's won a car. And it took some convincing, and the son is going to help her through the way. But the thing is, they keep demanding more and more fees for the shipping, and she kept getting gift cards for the person over the phone. And then the pyramid scam, and like an investment scam. You give me so much money, I'll mail you so much back, and continued on from there. So. The two recent Sterling Heights, we have lots of cases. These are just two recent ones, the McAfee scan. The victim receives an alert on the computer. Her computer needed to be cleaned. The victim deposited $32,000 in Bitcoin. The age of that victim was 66 years old. The romance scam, the victim receives notification on Twitter from a male subject. Victim proceeds to communicate with the subject on an encrypted app over the next 4 years, giving away over $100,000 in Bitcoin and gift cards to the subject which she has never met. The age of that victim was 71 years old. These are just two examples of the many that we receive. I can tell you when I was preparing the presentation for tonight, I received 2 additional scams notifications. So 2 new cases. Why do we need an ordinance? So again, there's 27 crypto ATMs in the city of Sterling Heights. The FBI notified me that that is the highest amount of any community in this area, Macomb or Oakland County. Hence, because of that, we have more scams than any other city or county around us. We have 23 cases active since January 1 of 2025. The average age of victim is 64 years old. Again, the documented loss that people have reported to us is $542,000 to our residents here in Sterling Heights, with the federal government claiming that it's a potential loss of $1,076,000 based on the amount. They monitor the suspicious activity. Anytime $10,000 or more is deposited in a machine, they are required to be notified. So that's just what is potential loss. But we do have the documented over $500,000 with our residents alone since the beginning of January. So it's just talking about it's no longer the scam where they call you and say there's a fake charity and we want you to donate to that. AI and everything else that's come in place, fake scams, your son's in jail, your grandson's in jail, all of that. So they've gotten more and more trickier with their scams and more intelligent. So now to get into the ordinance a little bit, the virtual currency machine ordinance. What this is going to require is that a business owner intends to maintain a virtual currency machine on site. They must obtain a specialty license endorsement / virtual currency license issued by the city clerk. They must obtain that virtual currency license by March 31st of 2026 if the ordinance is adopted this evening. They must permit yearly inspections by the city of Sterling Heights, and the license must be displayed on the virtual currency machine. It will also require regulations in record keeping. There must be an employee on site of the virtual currency machine location. There must be access to a customer service helpline that they can call if they have questions. Photo ID is required for their transaction. And then a daily log of all transactions in a 24-hour period kept for 90 days. The machines must disclose to the customer in a clear, conspicuous, legible, and easily readable manner relevant terms and conditions of the transaction, amount of any and all fees. Warning: transaction is final. Consumer fraud warning: do not send money to a person you don't know or trust. That's my advice for everybody out there. And then contact the customer service hotline immediately upon suspicion of any fraudulent activity. The ordinance will also have a provision for new customers. A new customer is anybody the first time they do a transaction. They're considered a new customer for up to 14 days. The virtual currency machine owner and operator shall not process any transaction greater than $1,000 during any 24-hour period. This was put in place because we have people that will go 2 days in a row and deposit over, the last one was $22,500 each day that they were going that week. So we want to kind of try to prevent as much as we can. The one thing about this is, although we can't arrest the perpetrators that are in foreign countries, where 99.9% as that's where they live, this is a victim-centered approach. We want to prevent our seniors and our residents from falling victim to these scams. We believe this ordinance will help do that. The future with cryptocurrency. There is a federal crypto task force that was established January 21st, 2025 by President Trump. They will end up recommending practical policies and regulatory guidelines. There is no report at this time. And I'd like to just kind of end my presentation today with just make sure that you have conversations with anyone elderly or anyone you know. And we encourage that if anyone has questions about any financial transaction involving gift cards or cryptocurrency, to contact your local police department before purchasing or depositing any money. Our goal, again, with this ordinance is to educate and protect our residents from falling victim to any scams, and we appreciate your consideration in adopting this ordinance. The other futures, we talk about forfeiture of funds obtained illegally. The Federal Drug Enforcement Agency can already do that. So if you recognize maybe a drug dealer that has a crypto wallet, it gives us the power to use how to do that. And then one of my great detectives over here has presented me with CryptoTrack, which is going to be a device where we can track a wallet. So to explain this briefly is when you put your money into the machine, it goes into a crypto cold wallet and it sits in this wallet. That transaction has to be verified by third parties who also earn money. That's why people do it. They earn money by verifying it. And what we would like to do with this crypto track machine is have the ability, through a search warrant, to freeze that money. So once we freeze that wallet, I should say wallet, right? Yeah, freeze that wallet, then we are able to take those funds, as long as the judge signs off of it, and freeze that and hold it, and then give it back to the victim if they are reporting fraud. So that's future. We're working on that. And with that, I would say, ask if there's any questions.
Okay, thank you, Captain Hopper. We will go to the audience, and if there are any questions from council, we will be sure to ask. So at this time, I'll ask the audience, is there anyone in the audience tonight who would like to speak on this item? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Radke.
Resolved to introduce the ordinance amending Chapter 29 of the Code of Ordinances to add licensing and other operational regulations for virtual currency machines and associated devices.
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion, Mr. Radke?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm so happy to see this ordinance come forward. I actually suggested to city administration they investigate it when I read in the paper that Grosse Pointe Woods had written a similar ordinance, the first in Michigan. And I remember seeing cryptocurrency machines at several gas stations in our city. I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of interesting. And to see the level of scams and theft that have been tied to them just in our community, these are long overdue. And I'm happy to support this, but just to be clear, we're going to, in this new ordinance, we're going to, through the chair to Captain Hopper, going to put in a time limit on both how much money can be entered and how much can be done over a 14-day period, I believe. Is that correct?
Right, for a new customer, so once this is their first transaction at this machine or this company, then they're considered a new customer for the next 14 days. The most they can put in each day is $1,000.
Well, that sounds like a very good idea, especially if the average victim is 64 years old. I doubt they are regularly using cryptocurrency machines. So I hate to call it an ATM because I think people assume an ATM is with a bank. There's nothing to do with the bank. It's not insured, it's not protected. So it's a cryptocurrency machine. And I'm glad to see that hopefully, not just the fraud warnings, but the limits on how much you can enter if you're a new user. Even if people make a mistake, hopefully that mistake won't be life-changing. Any amount of money, any kind of theft is terrible. But to see someone having $23,000 or $100,000 taken from them in this way, that's terrible. So anything we can do to try to regulate these machines and make them safer for our residents to use. And look, any kind of regulatory regime kind of creates roadblocks. But here I think the roadblocks make a heck of a lot of sense because if you're a new customer putting thousands of dollars in a machine, I'm asking you why. I'm happy to support this. This sounds very common sense, and I would urge the state legislature to take action. But we're going to take action right here in Sterling Heights to protect our residents. So I'm happy to support this, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Mr. Majek?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair to Captain Hopper, very good presentation. Thank you very much. My question is if we had this ordinance in place already, say a year ago, how would that impact the 23 cases, $542,000 and climbing with monetary damages, losses? I'm just wondering how much would that be? It's a vague question, but would make a big difference, wouldn't it?
Right, yeah, so although I can't predict the exact amount, obviously, I would hope that it would decrease the amount of fraud that we've had.
Okay. Have there been other communities, say Warren, Troy, that have had similar circumstances like this?
Similar fraud?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Majek. Mrs. Schmidt?
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. Through the chair to Captain Hopper. Captain Hopper, explain to me again how we are going to enforce this. I mean, I understand they have to get a license through the clerk's office, but continuing on, how are we going to make sure that they're in compliance?
Well, as I understand it, every year they'll have to apply for a new license. It'll expire, so they'll went through the city clerk's office and they'll do inspections through code enforcement, if I'm correct.
So code enforcement will know how to inspect these machines?
They'll be
through the chair to Mr. Koszybski.
Go ahead.
Sure. Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Koszybski.
Thank you. Councilwoman Schmidt, so it's multifaceted, really. So initially, there will be a licensing that will happen. There will be inspection of the machine. It'll be done by police. Fire may have to be involved. Code will be involved in a little bit, but not likely. It'll likely be police to start. We will make sure that the machines are operating accordingly. The real key to this ordinance is having both the business owner that is hosting the machine and the machine operator being licensed individually. They both have to be licensed. So it's not just the gas station proper that has to deal with this. We wanted the gas station owner to have skin in the game, so to speak, but also the operator to have to be available for the hotline call. You have to have somebody on the line that's not an AI-generated question. It's got to be a live person. So to get licensed, these operators have to come into compliance with what we're requiring. Now, I won't get into the techniques that the police use to recover the money because a lot of what we're putting in here allows for that to be easier. But I'm not going to get
Please
into that.
don't.
So with that said, the idea is that annually they'll come in for a renewal and annually they'll be re-inspected, similar to what we do with amusement devices now, where we go into various places and check on devices to make sure they're not illegal gambling. In this case, we'll go in and make sure the warnings are there, the signs are there, the licenses are shown on the machine. They'll do a test with a driver's license to make sure that whatever they're going to do requires a license to make sure the machines are operating accordingly. So if we do all of that, plus with what we've put into this ordinance, we believe that this would severely curtail the fraud that's going on with these machines.
Okay, you know what, anything we can do to help with I mean, there's some really bad people out there doing some really sick things, and they do target, you know, the seniors and the, you know, whatever. Whatever we can do to help minimize that, I'm all for it, so I'm in full support, Mayor, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Mrs. Zarko?
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. First of all, I have to agree, I'm definitely in support of the introduction of this ordinance. But through the chair to whoever wants to answer this question. My concern is not just us doing the ordinance, but I think there has to be some kind of education to the community afterwards. And I don't mean that it is just the business owners or wherever these units are, you know, in place. And I have to agree with Mr. Radke when he says ATM is not what this is. ATM gives you money, this takes your money, so it's completely different. So I would hope that we could come up with some type of educational program that we could either sponsor at the community center or at the library for anybody that's interested in these, in knowing about these frauds and how you can prevent them, whether it be from themselves or from a relative. So if we could work on that, I would appreciate it. Besides just putting this ordinance in place, I think there's got to be an educational program as well for the people that might partake in getting Bitcoin. The other thing is, through the chair to Captain Hopper, is there any legislation that you know in the state that's planned for any kind of regulations for the Bitcoin machines?
So right now, there's only a House bill that's sitting at the Economic Competitiveness Committee, and it hasn't gone anywhere.
Okay, that's, the reason why I ask is as soon as we put an ordinance like this in place, if the state doesn't have anything in place, then they're going to put something in place and we have to follow their rules. So if there's nothing there now, then we're pretty much okay for this week.
Right.
Mr. Koszybski would like to weigh in on that if you don't.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to butt in a little. There is going to be legislation going through the state that's being sponsored by some of the cryptocurrency machines themselves, the operators and owners of those machines, that are trying to bring forward some regulation to help rein in some of the wild, wild west that it is. With that said, there's a potential that the state could pass laws that protect some ways, but it may not be total preemption. So even if the state does provide some relief or some requirements or restrictions or licensing or whatever, at the end of the day, unless it's total preemption, the city should still have the right to do additional regulation. And until we see how that goes, this is a very good measure to put in place today.
Okay. They might even look to us for input?
They might.
Yeah, they might, I doubt it, but they might. Okay. So how did we know, again, through the chair to Captain Hopper, how did we know that we had 27 Bitcoin units in the city? How did we know that? Were they, did?
I was going to say, between the FBI analysis and on the internet, you can locate them.
Okay. All right, so, I think good work by all that were involved. I think this is something we should, protect our residents from. You hear it on the news all the time, and it's up to millions and millions of dollars, and you can tell people over and over again that it's a scam, but sometimes they still get involved for whatever reason. So if we can help them, and that's why I think the education on it is really important. So if we could come up with some type of program or, I'd really appreciate that. As far as the ordinance goes, I'm definitely in favor of it. So nothing further. Thank you, Mayor
All right,
Taylor.
thank you, Mrs. Zarko. Mr. Yanas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair to Captain Hopper, just in case I missed it, how do the people who have these in their stores, these machines, how do they make money?
Go ahead.
Yeah, if you're the owner of the gas station or whatever entity, you collect a fee for having that ATM or the cryptocurrency machine there. You get a certain percentage of the deposit from the owner of the machine.
From the owner of the machine. Okay. Thank you. And I will, through the chair, I guess I'll go to Mr. Koszybski, since I'm assuming he did all the legwork on this ordinance. Sorry. So how does this ordinance compare to some of the states that already have laws?
Mr. Koszybski.
Well, looking at the various ordinances that were out there, many of them are very similar. We actually patterned ours off of one that existed within the state itself, one other community in Michigan, that we looked at, and then we looked at the other states. Now, there are higher levels of money to be put in. Some allow up to $3,000, $5,000 per transaction. We went with 1,000 because we think that that is a better transaction number. Some would say that it should be higher for the businesses. It's a catch-22 on some of it. You kind of decide what fits your community best based on the police detectives' input and what we feel the scammers tend to do and the numbers that they tend to do. We thought that the $1,000 threshold for a new user was a good idea. And you saw the video with regard to Texas. And they want a live phone call with an individual for the first time that they do it. Now, that was something we discussed whether we wanted to do or not. We didn't know if that would be too onerous, given that we were going to have two different licenses already and having a store owner being responsible as well as the machine operator being responsible. So we didn't want to hamper business necessarily to be overprotected, because we think the amount itself is going to minimize the amount of scams. So that when you look at the various legislation out there, we thought that this was a good, happy medium.
And again, to Mr. Koszybski, if you can answer, and maybe Captain Hopper if you can't, have these laws been around long enough to show of any impact on fraud? Can we say that fraud has decreased where these laws exist?
Not by individual states. I didn't see anything. The federal government, it's over $9 billion in the United States.
It's a lot.
Right now.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Every one of those cases that we showed earlier, not one of them was under $1,000. Every deposit was over $1,000. So
Okay.
I would suggest it would affect it greatly, reduce it.
And again, to our police officers, is it common that a scammer will direct someone to a specific location to use a Bitcoin? They just tell them to go find a cryptocurrency machine?
Yep, they will actually sometimes talk to them on the phone and tell them exactly where to go. Give them the QR code that they'll scan it.
They'll walk them through it.
Yeah, walk them through it, yeah. So consequently, if we pass an ordinance and Shelby Township doesn't or Troy doesn't, they'll just have them go somewhere else other than Sterling Heights, correct?
They could.
They could, yeah. So we really do need to have a statewide law. I would not be happy with any sort of preemption from the state because I would like to be able to make sure that we protect our citizens to our level of concern. But I think this is, this is certainly, it'll be good to have on our books. It's not foolproof for the people who are getting scammed. They'll just move them somewhere where there's no ordinance in place. But I would support this. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yanez. I also will support it. I thank Mr. Radke for bringing this to our attention, and the work done by Captain Hopper, Chief Satterfield, Detective, and everybody in the police department, the city attorney's office. Major problem. There was some discussion tonight about education. Don't disagree. It's just, I don't know how you get your arms around this problem. I was thinking about this right now. I mean, it hadn't even occurred to me until just a couple minutes ago. I had a client that, in my private sector job, I work as an attorney, and I do work that oftentimes is needed by elderly clients. And I had a client today that I had a conference call with a bankruptcy attorney. A client is filing for bankruptcy because she was the victim of a scam. And so that was one. I spent 3 or 4 hours in mediation this afternoon in Mount Clemens for another client who was the victim of elder abuse by a partner in his own home. So these scams continue to happen over and over and over and over. And I know we do a lot of education. The Macomb County Prosecutor's Office, Prosecutor Lucido has had these forums in Sterling Heights. He's invited me to them. I've gone to them. He goes to senior centers. He goes to nursing homes. He goes to assisted living facilities. And he puts on presentations and gives out flyers and information about how to avoid scams. Anything more we can do, I would appreciate. But it's a big, heavy lift because this is very pervasive and you catch people at the right time or the wrong time, I should say. And even if they've been educated about it, they might still fall victim to it. I was in Mexico a couple weeks ago, right after the election. I went to Mexico for a nice vacation. Was out on the beach. It was lovely. Walking through the, what do you call it? Duty free when you go through the airport, right? You're walking through the duty free. And what I like about Mexico is that, in the duty free, they've got cigarettes and tobacco and all that stuff. And right on the cigarette box, it says, if you smoke this, you will die young. These cigarettes will kill you. Like, they don't mess around. They regulate. It's like blunt. Like, I'm thinking we need signs. I appreciate what we're doing. The license has to be on the machine. I mean, I'm saying this somewhat tongue in cheek, but there should be a placard sign that says something like, if you are almost certainly being scammed. Your grandson is not in prison. Call him, because it's happened before to people in my family, friends. Everybody knows somebody who's been a victim of a scam like this. So whatever we can do to stop it or to limit it is great. This will certainly limit what can be, what a scammer can do in the city of Sterling Heights. But as all my colleagues said, until there's a coalition of cities in Macomb County and Metro Detroit and beyond that have similar ordinances, the scammers are going to figure this out. They're going to direct people to go where there's, no regulation. So frankly, the only reason I would say we didn't have this 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 18 months is because I didn't even know this was a thing. So let's the 7 of us, 6 of us, and Mrs. Sarowski when she gets back, we all know friends and have colleagues in other cities. Let's talk to them. I'll talk to other mayors. I'll talk to other council members that I know and see if we can get some momentum on this because there's really doesn't appear to be any downside here. No downside. Even if like somebody realizes I want to start buying Bitcoin from an ATM and it's legitimate and they're gonna make this a regular investment, 14 days is good. It's a decent waiting period. You can wait 14 days. And 14 days, Bitcoin might be down another $20,000. So you might be doing yourself a favor. So I really am in favor of this. Great job to everyone involved. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. I'm certainly a yes. Council with no further.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Radke.
Sorry, I wanted to come back and I started off just very quickly. I appreciate all my colleagues' comments today. I was wondering if we could also direct administration to send a letter to our state representatives and our state senators, asking them to pursue legislation at the state level to protect people as part of this package. I mean, I obviously support this, but I think we should get our legislators involved, get them working on our behalf, that without objection.
Anybody object to that? No, I don't think so.
Offer to help them.
And then, one more
All 6
thing,
votes we have up there.
through the chair to Mr. Koszybski, do we have any plans to put a placard in the machines? Could we put a placard in the machines? Because I think watching that video and thinking about how I deal with my computer when it tells me I'm installing something and clicking through the disclosure, you just hit yes. Could we put a placard on the machine saying like, hey, you're new to this, whatever? Can we do that?
Give it some thought at least. We got to come back in 2 weeks. Mr. Koszybski.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind, let me think about that. We do have to remember that we were putting something on somebody else's.
Speech, yeah.
Okay.
Number two, these are legitimate transactions.
Sure.
I mean, we're talking about scammers, but these machines are legitimate. They're not fraud. This is something that is allowed to happen.
Right.
So scaring business away is also a primary, concern for them, I'm sure.
I would bet that 90% of the business these machines do is fraud.
Well, I won't go that far. Let me think about it. And we'll
As someone who owns Bitcoin, I would bet this is fraud.
Mayor Taylor?
Anything else, Mr. Radke?
No, thank you, Mr.
Mrs.
Mayor.
Zarko.
Through the chair to Mr. Koszybski, I guess, is there anything, what responsibility does the business owner where this unit sits have as far as if they suspect that there is something going on that's fraudulent, that they either stop what's going on or they report it here to the police that they think something's going on, and to have the police come out there and view what's going on if they can't stop it themselves? I mean, is there some kind of responsibility there, or it's none of anybody's business?
Mr. Koszybski.
So, you have to understand that the shop or store owner is not the owner of the machine. And you have to understand that the owners of the machines aren't condoning fraud. This is being done by a third party that is using the system that is there as a way to defraud somebody. So the people that are coming in aren't doing it. It's not the store owner that's doing it. It's not the shop owner. So what we have to do is put the safeguards in place to tip off the individual coming in that what they're doing may be fraud. And we can protect them only so far, because we can't really blame the store owner if somebody comes and does it. All I can say is if we have a pattern of fraud and we know what's going on and the store owner is being obtuse about it, that maybe they're not going to get a new license. And that's how we stop that machine from operating there. As long as they're following the rules, we think that it will decrease the fraud. But we can't prohibit or make them monitor every transaction. It just would be impossible. We just have to set up the parameters that protect them for that short amount of time.
They have no duty of care, though?
Yeah, I
They're
mean, my
putting it in
thought
their space?
is, not only that, is you see the news reports that you see the average citizen stepping in and telling somebody, don't put any more money in that because it's a fraud.
Right.
And that's a good Samaritan, I agree.
But
But I'm talking about a gas station that may have a clerk dealing with a sale of gasoline or something, and then somebody's putting that in. Holding them responsible for that is going to be very difficult.
Okay, and I guess my other question would be, now that we're still talking about this, is would there be any undercover work if we suspect that something's going on at a particular place? Would be sending somebody in there undercover to see what actually is going on?
I don't want to talk about police enforcement.
None of your business.
I mean,
You still ask the question. It's her job.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, those are things that you think about, is if we're really trying to stop this and it's so complex, it just doesn't stop at what we're doing tonight.
Right.
Can I ask, do you know how often these machines get used? Was that part of the research? Like, do you know how many times a day the typical Bitcoin ATM is being accessed? Any idea? Because I mean, I think the issue is, like, I don't think it's 90% scam. I hope it's not that high, but it seems like it would be difficult to just send an officer in undercover to watch, because you know.
Never know.
You could be on your phone talking to your wife while you're going to, buy some more Bitcoin or something, right? So, it's a good point, but I think hopefully this will help arrest some of that from happening in the first place. Anything else, Ms. Zirko?
I'm good, I'm good.
Okay, anyone else on
Mayor
round two?
Taylor,
Mrs.
round
Schmidt.
two. Well, first of all, to piggyback on Mrs. Yarko suggesting the community center or the library for some education, I think the first place we need to hit is the senior center. Have some sessions at the senior center. If that, I mean, that seems to be the target for this situation. So that would be the obvious place, along with the other two places, but I'd like to start at the senior center. I guess my next question is to Mr. Koszybski. Do we have to allow them in our city, or can we put a moratorium on any more in our city?
Mr. Koszybski.
This is fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
So, yes, you could put a moratorium on them if you wanted to. We have 27 of them, pretty much saturated the market in Sterling Heights already. You could, with the licensing, you could put a cap on the licensing and how many units, much like we did with massage establishments in the past, where you could put a cap and say this is how many can be licensed in the city. Now, that may be something that could be preempted by the federal government, could be preempted by state government, because it is starting to become more widely accepted as a means of commerce. So we may not succeed in holding that off for long. I think that the regulations that we're proposing tonight give us an opportunity to both put something in place that we think is meaningful and see how it works and tweak it as we go if we need to. But I don't think that putting a ban on them is necessarily the way to go, because they're here already, and I'm not going to be able to get rid of them that way.
Just a thought. Okay, nothing further.
All right, council, anyone else? No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up tonight is a consideration item. This is item D from the consent agenda. This is to accept a proposal for professional.
We haven't done the
Wait a
consent agenda
second.
yet.
How do we get there?
Consent agenda.
We haven't done the consent agenda yet.
That was supposed to be 9D, so we got to go to the consent agenda. Yes,
8A.
yes, yes. Sorry, everyone. All right, consent agenda. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on any item on tonight's consent agenda? If not, council, we need a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Support.
Been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we'll go on to consideration. First, though, is consideration item. This is to consider a resolution to establish a moratorium on the establishment, erection, construction, or installation of billboards for a period of 6 months within the city. We do have a presentation from our city planner, Dr. Jake Parcell. Dr. Jake Parcell.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor, members of council, Mr. Vanderpool, Mr. Koszybski. So, speaking of moratoriums, we have one before you this evening. As the mayor mentioned, a resolution to establish a moratorium that covers the establishment, erection, construction, or installation of billboards for 6 months. So here's your current code. I only have a few slides, but there's a lot of text on them, but I pulled it from your memo just to make sure I had it all on the screen. In the past, council has determined that for a variety of reasons, off-premise signs in the city, known as billboards, are not permitted due to potential danger to public safety, distraction of drivers, in some instances where people focus on messages being conveyed, anticipating messages to follow as we see digital boards and other functions that are visible from public roadways. It resulted in an ordinance that says that new billboards are not permitted in the city under the Sterling Heights zoning ordinance. Billboards in the city are defined as an off-premise sign, and then under our sign ordinance, we call billboards a freestanding off-premise sign. So very explicitly, billboards are not permitted within the city of Sterling Heights. However, like anything in the zoning ordinance, people can come in with use variance requests, where they go in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals and request a variance from our zoning ordinance to allow for different types of signage, different types of uses that then the Zoning Board of Appeals has to consider. So the issue we are having when we look at billboards as a use, and I notice I just established wrong, but billboards are not currently permitted, so the only way to move forward is with the use variance. And because the city does not permit or allow billboards, we end up with a laundry list of variance requests and no standards to base them off of or fall back on in terms of design, placement, materials, height, size, what type of percentage can be a digital messaging board, how often messages can change, and things like that. With the upcoming master land use plan, or previously adopted master land use plan, In the upcoming zoning ordinance amendment, the Office of Planning and the City Attorney's Office has seen this as an opportunity to get more study into billboards in the city, providing us with ways that we can streamline our ordinance process for these signs, looking at different things and best practices that other communities are doing. Should we allow billboards, potentially looking at local businesses, places in the city where they may be allowed, and then bring council a study within 6 months that kind of shows our findings, what other communities have done, and a potential ordinance. Basically, we believe that in essence, this will protect us should we have variance requests instead of putting together 8 or 9 variances in one notice, risking misnoticing it, risking issues with what the end result of a decision from the Zoning Board of Appeals will be, because we have no standards to fall back on, a more comprehensive view of what billboards in the city would be. And ultimately, at the end of the 6 months, if not extended for an additional period, the end result after reading the study or any proposed text language is to continue with the ordinance as currently set. That's also an option council may take. So I know there may be a couple questions. I wanted to leave it open for discussion. But Mr. Petruzek is here also, who drafted the moratorium language, and we're happy to answer anything you may have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Parcell. This time I'll go to the audience. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this? Not, council, we need a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Radke.
resolve to adopt a resolution instituting a moratorium on the establishment, erection, construction, or installation of billboards for a period of 6 months within the city.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion, Mr. Radke?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess through the chair to Mr. Koszybski, if I'm understanding this correctly, right now we ban billboards, and when they come before the ZBA, there's no standards to measure them by, which makes it very confusing for our ZBA to either grant or reject them because there are no standards at all for them. So the argument here would be that we'd write standards for them while still possibly banning billboards in the future? Through the chair to Mr. Koszybski.
Mr. Koszybski.
Not exactly. So as it sits right now, we ban billboards.
Right.
Off-premises signs. What we're looking to do is study whether or not we want to start allowing them in certain areas of the city where they make sense. And if we decide,
If they make sense, not where they make sense, if they make sense.
if they make sense.
Yes.
And if council decides that it makes sense, what standards by which those signs should be built. Now, that doesn't mean in 6 months, we're going to come to you and say that we should allow billboards in. It's really going to be up to you at the end. But we don't have standards now to go by. So if you do come in and want a zoning variance, you still have to beat all the hurdles for a variance, right? It's not something we allow, so you've got to show your difficulties and the standards necessary to get your variance. But if they were to get that variance, there is no standards that we can say, okay, well, you've got the variance to have a sign, here's the standards we'd like you to do. So we kind of leave that to the whims at that point of the zoning board, which isn't really the right way to do it.
That's why I asked my question. So essentially, we're going to write standards that we could either legalize billboards or not, and I leave that to my colleagues in the future. But if we don't legalize them, at least the ZBA would then have some knowledge about what, if they were to allow on a case-by-case basis, what a fair standard would be.
Yes, if they fit the qualifications and requirements of the zoning variance itself.
Would it be a hardship variance right now?
It would be, yes.
Yeah. Okay. This is interesting. I wonder if there are areas in the city that billboards might be effective, but at the same time, I'm not a fan of billboards, so it's one of those tricky things. I'm fine with the current 6-month moratorium. I want to see what the planning commission or the planners can come up with. At this point, I'm not sure I would authorize them in the city, but I guess let's move forward. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Radke. Council, anyone else?
Me too. I agree with the moratorium, but what I see here is it's unless extended by city council. Is there a big deal if we just say we're going to have a moratorium for 12 months? I would rather do that than have this come back to us and be extended. I don't see where it hurts us in any way to do it for 12 months, because I don't want us to get to that 6-month, limit, and then we're going to have to say, we're another month out, if we had another month, we could do this. I'd rather just do it for 12 months, do it for a year, the moratorium, and then we're covered, and if you finished in 9 months, then you come back to us in 9 months. you know. I mean, the moratorium would still be in effect, and you could introduce the ordinance or whatever, and it wouldn't take effect until after the moratorium unless we lifted it.
Yeah, I would, if I may, defer to Mr. Koszywski on length of the moratorium. I think our rationale was 6 month for sample language, case studies, and best practices. And then should we be directed at that point to move forward with an ordinance amendment to start it at that point?
He's new.
That way we, that way we can, make sure that we get kind of a review from council at that point, but we can provide you updates, and if Mr. Koszywski deems
Right,
12 months is, sufficient, then that's totally fine.
No, I'd rather do that than to
Move to
do
amend,
the
Barb.
extension.
Amendment.
Move to amend.
Move to amend to 12 months.
Support.
All right, motion on the floor now is to amend to 12 months. Anything further on the amendment, Ms. Zarko?
Nothing further, just give us planning more time. It's really,
Council, any discussion on the amendment? I guess I was gonna ask this before, I'll ask now. Is this, do you think, Mr. Koszywski, is this, I know on our consent agenda, we have 2 billboard lawsuits. Is this a kind of protective measure against lawsuits in any, to some extent? Is the idea that by, so we're gonna put this moratorium in place, which is odd, because we don't even allow.
We don't allow
it in the first place, right? But I get the rationale, I understand it. We're gonna come back with some standards, right? But if the council says, look, we don't wanna make billboards legal at all, is it possible that we pass an ordinance that says billboards are banned? However, if they're granted as a use variance by the ZBA, this is what the ordinance looks like, or is that not really a thing we can do? Do you know?
I don't know the answer to
Okay.
that question. I would not think that would be something we would do, but.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I don't love moratoriums, but this is, we've already banned billboards, so what's the harm?
Right.
All right, anybody else want to talk about the amendment? No further discussion on the amendment. So the motion on the floor is to amend the main motion from 6 months to a 12-month moratorium. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Back to the main motion. Anything further on the main motion, Mrs. Zarko?
nothing further.
Council, anyone else? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, guys. All right, now we can go to 9B, which is item D from the consent agenda, and this is to accept a proposal for professional services for the completion of a stormwater utility feasibility study. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? Better seat there, Mr. Moore. I thought you faked me out a little bit. Yeah. You like that angle? Unobstructed view of me. I like that. Okay.
He wants to be on the crowd shot.
He's gonna just crab walk his way up. Okay, council, we need a motion. I know, Mr. Yanis, you pulled this. Do you want to make a motion? Do you defer?
I'll defer.
Okay. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Radke.
Resolved to adopt a resolution instituting, sorry, I did not move back. God, it was 9D, right?
It was D, yeah.
My fault.
It's right. Oh, yeah.
Resolved to accept the proposal by Raftelli's Financial Consultants, Inc. for a stormwater feasibility study at a cost of $83,700 and authorize the city manager to sign all required documents on behalf of the city.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion, Mr. Radke?
Yes, briefly, Mr. Mayor. We discussed this in strategic planning. We've discussed it at length up here. I am fine going forward with the stormwater feasibility study. It seems the committee did a very good job amongst they're not bidders because this is exempt from bidding, but amongst the proposals they received, this was both the cheapest and it seemed to be the most in-depth. And I think that that bodes well for, if we are to create a utility, let's get all the information we can, let's get it all squared away. And they're gonna produce 3 different rate structures that could possibly be initiated, which makes a lot of sense to me. I'm happy to move forward with this. I think that this is gonna both improve our sustainability practices in the city and place the cost on those most abusing the stormwater system. Large parking lots, large industrial sites, They are the biggest driver of stormwater costs in our community, but we currently pay for these costs from the general fund. So essentially, all residents pay them equally, which, just from like a layman's perspective, it doesn't make sense. Essentially, we should be charging the people who use it the most. And on top of that, if we do institute that, I think it will create an incentive structure where the biggest users will, much like our $30,000 tree plantings that are going on, they'll invest in infrastructure on their own sites, they'll invest in green space to hopefully prevent their costs from rising. As I understand it, the utility structure will give them incentive to do that. If they reduce their impermeable surface and they add green space, their costs will come down. So I'm happy to support this, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Council, anyone else? Mr. Yanis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, listen, I don't disagree with stormwater utilities. As a matter of fact, I'm very supportive for everything that Mr. Radke had to say. This is, in effect, a user's fee. It's not no different than if we decided to charge you for your trash. If you put out more trash, you got to pay more, right? My biggest concern is the process. Even though we talked about it at strategic planning and we talked about it up here, I don't know how many of the residents actually know or understand what a stormwater utility is. And the fact of the matter is, the process that we used to get here was a council member made a motion without exception. Nobody made an exception. And we went ahead and, I don't know, went out for bid or whatever. And now we got back a cost of $84,000, $83,700. And then on top of that was put in the consent agenda. So there's not even a discussion about it. My biggest concern is we're going to end up with an $84,000 study that's going to sit on some shelf somewhere collecting dust. When the fact of the matter is, we haven't sold, and now we have to spend the $84,000, and then we have to either go out and sell it to the public or just shove it down their throat. And I'm not happy with that scenario. I think that this is something that has to be bought in. I think that is something that we really need to do more work on, maybe through strategic planning, doing a more in-depth presentation of it, although not that many people see strategic planning. You know, my inbox is not getting inundated with people saying, please give me a stormwater utility. So this is a lot of money, $84,000. I think that there's got to be a better process of engaging with the public first before we spend this kind of money to see if there's even a taste out there of people wanting to do it. Either that or we just go ahead and do it and tell people that don't like it, too bad. So $84,000 is a lot of money. I'm very uncomfortable with the process, how we got here. And this is something that I cannot support tonight in this, through this process. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yanis. Anyone else?
Mayor Taylor?
Mrs. Schmidt.
I have to take exception with Mr. Yanez because I specifically voted no on this going forward. So there was a vote, there was plenty of discussion. There was also discussion at strategic planning. So I'm not sure what part of the process you're referring to, but we did vote on making a budget amendment for this specific study. Am I not correct, Mr. Vanderpool, or Mrs. Varney is in the audience?
Yeah, we did. We did. 4-3. Yeah. We voted.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. And the study does not mean we're going forward. It means we're getting the information to make the decision to go forward or to not go forward. And at the end of this study, we will be able to educate further ourselves and the residents as far as what this all means. So I have nothing further, Mayor Taylor.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Mrs. Zarko.
Okay, first of all, Mayor Montnati once told me it didn't matter how the vote went. When the decision was made, it was a council decision. You didn't sit here and say it was 4-3 or 5-2. You didn't say it. Whatever prevailed, it was a council decision. So yes, we did reject $300,000 that was originally talked about during strategic planning. This seemed to be a compromise. We all understood that we were going to do the study to see what the next step would be, and whether we were going to pursue any more action and what the cost of that would be. So I feel that it was done fairly, and this is in the budget. So I wasn't offended at all by the fact that it was on the consent agenda, because that, if it's approved by the budget, we said we're going to spend the money for this. So I say we go forward with it, to be honest with you, but that's my feeling. Nothing further.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Zarko. Anyone else? Yeah, look, I think that's been established. We talked about this at strategic planning. We talked about it extensively at the budget process. I mean, I don't think that there was anything we talked about more than this during the budget process. I'm comfortable with the study. Look, I appreciate that, this is not something, I probably said it then too. You're right, Mr. Yanez. This is not something that people are knocking down the door saying we need to do a stormwater utility, but not one single resident out of the 134,000 plus of us out there asked me to do a Bitcoin ATM ordinance either. So that's what we're here for. We're here to try to find, ways that we can improve the quality of life for our residents, that we can save our residents money, and that we can be more equitable in how we assess the fees of an important and very expensive utility in the city of Sterling Heights, and really in any city. So I'm comfortable with the study. I think it's going to provide us with some very good background and information. It's a good compromise from where we were doing a more expensive study. So this seems from the backup material that it'll accomplish what we need to do to be able to make a better informed decision if this is how we want to move forward. So I'm in favor of it. And so council, with no further discussion, please all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries with one no vote. Okay, we'll move on to communications from citizens. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on any item not on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we will go on to reports from city administration. Anything tonight, Mr. Vanderpool?
Nothing further, Mayor.
Mr. Koszybski?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Okay, council, any reports, new business, anything for tonight?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Radke?
Just briefly, we had the presentation from the Look No Further branding campaign, and I appreciate it. That was very good. But I know that when we first got into this, one thing we talked about was neighborhood branding and branding different parts of our city. And so far, I think we're 2 years or 3 years in, I've not seen anything to do with that. And I know that we have strong members of our Chaldean community, amongst others, who have been encouraging some neighborhood branding, especially on the west side. So I was curious, through the chair to Mr. Vanderpool, has there been any talk with Identity about the neighborhood branding program? Because that was one of the original features we discussed when the proposal was accepted.
Mr. Vanderpool?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Radke, as mentioned earlier, the Look No Further campaign is an outward looking campaign. It's to inform outsiders, if you will, those outside of Sterling Heights, as we mentioned earlier, about all that's going on here. It's not an inward-looking campaign. So if the city council's desirous of doing something more inward in terms of branding neighborhoods, there's been discussion on it. You're absolutely right about that. You've brought up a lot of discussion about this, and I think there may be other council members that are interested in that as well, but there's been no clear direction, and I think that's probably what we need to know. And then we're happy to develop an outreach effort, a marketing effort for an internal branding of our neighborhoods, the Chaldean community, the Polish community, Italian community, and so on. These are some of the things that you mentioned. So we're happy to do that. I just don't think that direction is very clear at this time. It's certainly something we can discuss further at strategic planning too, but I understand your interest.
Well, I guess maybe I misunderstood, because I remember those sessions when we discussed what we wanted out of a branding campaign, and one of them was distinct neighborhoods, including North Van Dyke. And we haven't seemed to got that yet. And it's not just ethnic communities, though the West Side, they really do want a Chaldean town. But I think it has more to do with, Sterling Heights as a whole, but also there are distinct parts. I mean, most of us live on, besides Councilman Myjack, we all live on the east side. I'm glad that we have a West Side representative now. But, different sides mean different things, and different neighborhoods have different ideas about themselves. And I wish that we could have a little bit more internal structure there, because we talk about Sterling Heights as a whole, and I appreciate that. But I think that one thing that we don't do is brand distinct parts of our city. We don't have wayfinding to distinct parts of our city. We've discussed wayfinding in the past, and I don't think our wayfinding is very good and has not been improved. We brought all the city campus up to a certain level of signage, but when you look at other areas of the city, other parks, they're not on the same signage. If we want a united brand for our city, the signs should all look alike. The wayfinding should all look alike. It should all be part of one concentrated campaign. And I just feel like we do things piecemeal around here, and we wonder why nothing gets upgraded. I'm happy to discuss this further, but I think that we should do some thinking on this. And we should at least bring everything up to the current brand signage, because if you drive past, for example, Shaner Towers, there's a different branding, different logo. If you drive past some of the other areas of our city, different logos, old logos. If we're going to bring everything to the brand, we should have one brand. And that's for example, but I'd like to brand the rest of the community. I'd like to have better wayfinding throughout the community too. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. It's just something to think about, I guess, but I'd like to see it. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Anyone else? Mrs. Zarko.
Okay. First, we'll have to talk to the county again, and what I'm going to ask is, if you're driving north on Shaner and you get to Hall Road, you go from 3 lanes to 4 because you have the right turn lane. The second right turn lane is also either straight or you can turn there also. There's a sign that says you could do it. In most areas of the city, there are also painted arrows on the road. And if they could just spare a little paint and put it on that intersection, as we're reading about how it's one of the accident-prone intersections in the community, that maybe, if we did a little bit more signage, that it's just a little paint and arrows to tell you you can either go straight or you can turn right from that lane. And other than that, I hope to see everybody at Sterling Christmas this Saturday. So nothing further.
Okay, what was that intersection, Hall and Shaner?
Hall and Shaner.
Okay. Yeah, it happened to me. I was just thinking and looking at the map. I was going west on 16 Mile Road, turning north on Shaner, and I'm in the right turn lane, and I turn right, and I go to get over to the left lane, and this guy honks at me because he turned, I was in the turn lane, and I turned right, and he turned from the regular lane. And I was like, I don't think you can do that. But every time I keep forgetting.
There's a couple places in the city where you can do that. Utica Road and Shaner, if you're going east on Utica Road, there's 2 lanes that go right.
Maple Lane at 15.
Yeah, there's a few, but yeah, good idea. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? Okay, Sterling Christmas is this Saturday. What time is it again, Mr. Vanderpool?
5:30.
Yeah,
Starts at 5:30.
Okay, 5:30. Santa Claus will be there. We will light the tree. Don't know what the weather's going to be like, but it's always fun. It's going to be cold, but it's winter time. So bundle up, enjoy, and we will see you back here in 2 weeks. So council, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, support.
It's been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.